Now, over the past few days, people have been asking me, Tom, which players should I be locking into my game week 1 draft? And that gave me a little bit of an idea for a video today. So I thought I'd come up with 5 players I believe are going to be essential for your game week 1 drafts. So let's go and take a look. Now, before we dive into today's video, of course, if you do enjoy any of the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, as we are now trying to hit 20,000 subscribers here on the FPL Tom YouTube channel, and it'd be absolutely amazing if we could hit that goal. Let's start off then with a player that has been pretty much in most of my drafts since the game launch, and it is going to be Morgan Rogers. Obviously had a big price increase this year, up to 7 million. It was definitely deserved. You can't go a 19 goal involvement season and not see quite an absurd price increase. However, one of the reasons that I do believe he's going to be an absolute lock is, number one, his minutes. He is absolutely fantastic for minutes, his Morgan Rogers. 37 Premier League games for him last season. Even when they were playing Europe midweek, this guy was still featuring very, very regularly. I don't think you've got to worry about his minutes. The other big thing that you can see here is the opening 5 game weeks is his fixtures. But if you look a little bit further, it's all the way up until match day 8, where they don't play any of last season's top 6 sides within the Premier League. To get a side like Aston Villa that doesn't really have anybody, bar Newcastle, during that period, is ridiculous. And Newcastle, the way that their summer window is going, they're probably going to lose Isak. They're not really recruiting the best set of players, especially given the fact that they qualified for Champions League football. So I think Villa are going to be looking at that opening set of fixtures there and probably seeing a decent chance to probably pick up maybe 12, potentially even 15 points, and put themselves in a really, really good position for Champions League football next year, just off the start of this run of games that they've got at the start of the season here. Some absolutely crackers, like I said. The only probably downside is there's probably a couple too many that are away from home. But realistically, I still think Aston Villa are going to absolutely start the season like a house on fire. The fixtures are great. Morgan Rogers' minutes are an absolute lock. And usually when Villa score, he's usually got some sort of goal involvement. It's him or Watkins. They're actually the third best combination two players within the league last year as well. 7 combinations between the two. You feel as well, I just think for me, 7 million for Rogers. He just feels like a sensible pick over probably some of those 6.5s that we're taking a little bit of a gamble on. The SARs, the Ndiays, people like that there is a little bit of risk. Whereas I feel if I've got that extra 0.5 million spare or can find that extra 0.5 million, personally for me, I would rather go and get a Morgan Rogers within my side. Before we head into the next player then, let's take a look at Fantasy Football Hub. Obviously, if you want to win your mini league this season, one of the best tools that you can go and use is going to be Fantasy Football Hub's tool. It's honestly one of the best websites. Helped me achieve a top 10k finish as well last year. And the offer that they're running at the moment, you can go and get your team rated completely for free by their AI tool. Link to that in the description as well. Obviously, if you want to pay for the other additional features on the website, which are also fantastic, you can do so. And if you use my link, it helps support me out as well. So it's a win-win for both of us as well at the start of this season. This is probably the best time to go and buy it as well. Get all the information, get all the data, and set yourself up for a really, really good start to FPL for the 25-26 season. Let's take a look then at the next player I want to talk about, and it's going to be Dominic Solanke. Now, if he is fit and available for game week 1 and they sell Son, this guy again just feels like a lock. Obviously, there's been some murmurs around his potential injury, but it looked more like a precaution rather than an out he's out, he's injured. He's actually gone on the tour, unlike Destin Doji, who hasn't even gone on the tour. He's completely just been ruled out. So that, for me, already gives me a strong inclination that they were probably just not going to risk him if he felt something. So I think, already, that's fine. I'm probably going to rule that out. We get to see Spurs play in the Super Cup as well, so we're going to have a good understanding if Solanke is going to be available for game week 1 anyway. The opening fixture is absolutely immense. If you look at all the data from like Rob TFPL, or the kind of other projected data as well from 11ify, they're suggesting that Spurs are going to be one of the best attacks for game week 1 with that Burnley at home fixture, so that's another big tick. And like I said, Son potentially departing the club. He's been the penalty taker there for a good few seasons since Harry Kane left. Now that door is going to be vacant. Dominic Solanke used to take them for Bournemouth, so he for me feels like an absolute steal at 7.5 million if he gets penalties. Playing for a Thomas Frank side that last season and the season before, Brentford switched up the way they played. They went from obviously the more defensive approach when they first came to the league to obviously building a quite attack-minded squad that focused on big chance creation. Brentford, there we go. Brentford were one of the top sides at home in Europe for XG creations for large parts of last season. You imagine with Spurs as well, that is probably just going to be the same. And you think down the years, some of the strikers that have come through Brentford and who's been there to help guide them, well, of course, that's been Thomas Frank as well. So I think Dominic Solanke is really going to benefit under the management of Thomas Frank. I think, like I said, if he can get penalties as well, at 7.5 million, he could be a right little steal heading into the start of this season. The next two players I want to talk about are two absolute locks within my Game Week 1 draft. It is going to be Elliot Anderson and it is going to be Murillo. Both of these guys absolutely smashed it out of the park in terms of their defensive contribution points. I've done a few shorts on this talking about it. I've done some tweets as well talking about the power of DEFCON points this season. I think if you're not getting with them, I think you're potentially going to be missing out on some mega points this season, to be honest. And Elliot Anderson was one of those guys last year. Picked up 36 additional points just from this metric alone. Alanga obviously has left the club. He's gone to Newcastle. He was one of the kind of set piece takers for Nottingham Forest. Elliot Anderson also dabbled in a few last year. Now with him staying, you do imagine it's probably going to lead to him having even more set pieces. So a set piece taker for 5.5 million. Absolutely class for DEFCON points, and had a pretty good season as well. 2 goals, 6 assists, and the data is not suggesting that that's going to go anywhere really. It's probably going to be around that 5 to 6 again this season. So again, with the fixtures and the strong fixtures that Nottingham Forest have got, I feel you've got a player that's baseline has probably gone up from around 2 to 4 already. Then you factor in if he keeps a clean sheet, that goes up to 5. Then, of course, if you start looking at, he picks up some attacking returns, bonus points because he's obviously picking up quite, few defensive action points as well. Maybe he's going to pick up a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9. And you've got to remember, you're paying 5.5 million for this guy. He's just going to be there when you need him. And I feel like he could just be one of those solid players that just keeps ticking along within your side every single week. And you've not got to worry because at the end of the day, like I said, all you're paying is 5.5 million for this guy. So I really, really like Elliot Anderson as a potential option within our cheap midfield brackets. And I do feel he's going to probably become quite template within the FPL community over the next few weeks, as of course we do get closer to the season. Another man as well I think could become very template if of course we do see some bigger content creators add him to their side. It is going to be Murillo. Again, another absolute beast for defensive contributions. Only Tarkowski scored more defensive contribution points last season. Didn't even play all the games as well. 36. He missed out on 2 games as well. Last season did Murillo as well. Again, the Forest fixtures are great. If you look at the 11-5 clean sheet numbers, really, really good over the opening 6. I think that gives you a great period to see, yes, if Nottingham Forest are the same level as defence as last season with those positive fixtures, and also how impactful this defensive contributions are going to be. Because like I said, you could have a defender that could be picking up 8 every other week if they manage to keep clean sheets with the positive data, and of course those defensive contribution points, which you imagine as well are going to help in terms of the bonus points. So it just feels like it's all kind of, the game is skewed now towards more these defensive contribution points rather than the attacking points as well. Because you've got to think, if I go for somebody like Aït-Nouri, who got the most goal involvements last season, he's going to be a minutes risk. He just is for Pep Guardiola. Whereas Murillo, he's not coming off early. Unless he's injured, this guy's going to be playing 90 minutes every single week. When he has a higher proportion of actually picking up the 2 points from the DEFCON. And it also means as well, he's actually probably going to get, higher probability of getting the goals and assists, because that's where most of the goals come as well, is later within Premier League games. It's a fact. You can look this up for yourself. So, for me, it just feels like targeting these DEFCON points, looking at the Nottingham Forest players who've got great starts to the season with the fixtures, just feels like, again, got to be somewhere that I think you guys have to be looking at come game week 1 with your drafts as well. Let's talk about then the final player, and it is going to be Virgil van Dijk. Now, again, this one might be a little bit controversial. Of course, you can completely disagree with me in the comment section. This is what this community is for. If you don't agree with me, get it in the comment section. Disagree with me all you like. The fixtures are a bit mid. I can't lie to you. Bournemouth, not great, but it is at home, so you would imagine Liverpool should be keeping a clean sheet there. Newcastle and Arsenal, I think if they lose Isak, probably a little bit of an easier fixture. Arsenal coming to Anfield as well probably elevates Liverpool's clean sheet probabilities rather than away at the Emirates. Then Burnley and Everton. Not bad. Not bad at all. But the reason I like Van Dijk, again, he was quite good on the DEFCON points, was one of the top point scoring defenders for that metric from the top 6 sides as well. Liverpool, again, you probably imagine are going to be absolute stalwarts at the back for 6 million. And 4 goal involvements. He's obviously got that little bit of prowess as well. And the reason I like him is he's just going to be a safe pick. Again, he's going to play the 90 minutes. Probably going to pick up a few DEFCON points, being a little bit busier in the Newcastle and Arsenal games. Probably going to pick up a few clean sheets over the opening 5 as well. And then what I think it allows you to do is assess what 6 million defender or 5.5 million defender, if you know DEFCON's not your thing over the opening few weeks, and see which attacking fullback is maybe looking good. Around that point, you know, Palace, their fixtures turn, so maybe Munoz has been cooking. He could be the one you go for. Aitnuri's an absolute lock. Cucurella's a lock. These could be the players that you, of course, look for. But I think just picking a player that you know is definitely going to play. Yes, he's a little bit more pricey, but there's so many, you know, positions that you can just shift around if, of course, it doesn't quite work out. And he is a magnet for those DEFCON points, considering he plays for a top 6 sides as well, that will be getting a lot of clean sheets this season. So again, Virgil van Dijk, for me, feels like an absolute lock within one of my game week 1 drafts. I've originally been playing around with Gabriel, but it looks like he's potentially sustained a bit of an injury at the start of the year. So I think that impacts the Arsenal defensive clean sheet numbers at the start of this campaign. So I'm going to go with Liverpool, who were the 2nd best defence last season, on the 11-5 numbers as well, are the 2nd over the opening few weeks. It'd be interesting to see if that changes well with the Gabriel injury news. Those are going to be my 5 essential players heading into game week 1. Let me know if you disagree with any of them in the comments or any players that I have missed. And make sure you're liking, commenting and subscribing for more FPL content.